So the inside out special strength model that we've essentially went over in the learning module uh, essentially enables us to start to be able to program treatment and training for a lot of different, let's say, things. And one of
Sure,
those things could be, like we're using it for the reverse hyper program,
sure,
right? To figure out like this is how we're going to use the reverse hyper as a tool to cultivate reactive strength in the low back, which we're essentially saying we believe is a universal problem. I mean, not we, that's kind of what all the data shows us.
sure.
But what's interesting is like in especially talking with like AB of the Pittsburgh Pirates, he was on a founders meeting. He was recently on another call that we had where he was discussing level of competition.
hmm
So let's discuss level of competition real quickly. The level of competition is an article that we wrote initially on the ecologies. And
Sure. This was a while ago.
yeah,
hmm
this was a while ago. Brian Fox helped us out with the ecology
hmm
post, and then
2023, probably.
2023. And then within that, within those ecologies, we wanted to say that, like, hey, like, listen, there's a level of adaptation, which is on the inside of the athlete. And then there's a level of competition, which is on the outside, right? So the level of competition, for a baseball player would be on the baseball diamond.
hmm
And what was interesting when we were having that conversation with AB is he was discussing how the level of competition for them, they're using that as a feedback loop of point B. So they're saying like, hey, like this person is at like neurological point B based off of like whatever data. I think he was discussing like data in regards to like bat velocity. Maybe you want to speak to that.
Yeah, he was. If I recall, he was discussing. This is for obviously uh, uh, players that hit because pitchers don't hit, but um, he was talking about exit velocity. So exit velocity is a measure of the velocity of the ball after impact with the bat. So like pitch comes in, hitter swings, how fast is that ball exiting off of the bat?
Yeah,
So he was
exactly.
talking about that as a KPI that they would use to determine or help them determine neurological point B.
Yeah, KPI standing for key performance indicator, which for us, that's going to be an indicator of realistically neurological point B of the neural net of absolute strength, right? Twos was on the call too. So
Mhm.
Twos, who's obviously been at OSU, he's been at Boston College, strength coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was kind of essentially discussing like, hey, those are neurological findings, like the Nord boards that they use in
Mhm, mhm,
like to
mhm.
get isometric output, like when you understand the neural network of absolute strength, you understand that like that exit velocity is actually a behavior of that neural network.
Sure. And why would it be? Why would it be a like if I ask you the question based on our framework of the neural network, why would that be a good indicator of neurological output?
Yeah, it would be a good indicator of neurological output because it's essentially when you have the mental model of special strengths, you can see that that's the neurology synthesizing with the biology to get you a behavior that you want. And if
hmm
that behavior is at the appropriate level, then
hmm
then you go, hey, neurologically, I know this individual's neural network is kind of where I want it to be at, and maybe I don't have to train it at a stimulating intensity to expand the amount of nodes in it per se.
hmm
Maybe I'm just retaining from a programming standpoint so that I get better skill acquisition,
hmm
right? Like, and
hmm
so,
hmm
and what's interesting too is Paul sent this as a text. I don't know if you saw it, but also, we did a video on Indiana and how they went 16-0 and their strength coach Derek Owens,
Sure.
right? And
Yep.
essentially he posted on his Instagram the availability and how Indiana had really good availability. We did the video like a while ago around Christmas
Sure.
time.
Sure. Sure. Yep. Yep.
Right. And so what's interesting is he just posted another thing where he's showing this the same thing, the velocities of the players on the field. So what's interesting is you're seeing these high level coaches go, hey, the level of competition, the field work, the diamond, the football field, they're using data from there on neurological output to then be able to start to figure out how they should program for those athletes, which is really compressing the feedback loop to probably let them be highly specific in what they're doing in regards to the rest of the strategy that they're trying to execute.
Which again, like you brought up the article that we wrote with Brian Fox. One of the key pieces of information in that article, if there are any people listening to this that haven't read it, was not only like the ecological nature of things, but the nested structure of them. So
Mm,
how like certain things live inside of other things, which live inside of other things, which so it's not like there is a component of this where you have one ecology over here and another ecology over here, and they have to synthesize. So that would be the model of special strength is like the synthesizing of these two things. But when you're looking at how performance drives training and how training drives performance, those things are nested structures. And so in that article we talked, that's where we introduced, if you remember this, that's where we introduced the level of competition and the level of adaptation.
hmm
And so the level of competition is this big circle out here because that's where the athlete lives. That's where their training and their preparation and all their skill work is either going to allow them to succeed or not succeed,
hmm
right? And so the success of that or the potential lack of success of that, we're starting to see these high level coaches in these organizations using feedback there to help them drive training at the level of adaptation, which is inside the level of competition.
hmm
So that is the nested structure of this feedback mechanism where we're not just making decisions at the level of adaptation, like, oh, you should be lifting more on this particular exercise, or you should be doing this, that, or the other thing. We're using a structure of this nested organization of things whereby we can look at what we deem to be high levels of performance based on measurements and data, and say, well, hey, over the course of time, this athlete has not necessarily trained specifically in any one ecology, and that is the capacities of point B. And therefore, that's probably why we're seeing this scaling down of this particular performance indicator. So that is how we create that feedback mechanism,
hmm
right? And to your point, feedback is either positive, negative, or reiterative, right? And
hmm
so negative means you need to change something. Positive means we're probably on the right track. Let's kind of keep doing this, but we need other checkpoints to understand. We need other feedback loops to understand, more depth about that particular loop. And then the reiterative one is we're getting what we want. Let's just keep kind of creating the same sort of strategy, more so from like a maintenance perspective. Like we need to stay here as much as possible.
Because if we can essentially, if we can retain that high perform, that's kind of the goal is to
Yeah, of course.
like that's kind of like it reinforces the concept of point B as kind of like a physical state that we want the athlete to be in, where high performance, those things can essentially synergize at the level of competition, and we get emergence of high performance, right? And that's kind of like that's the like obviously it's like a conceptual thing, but I think now with the concept of the neural network of absolute strength, you have coaches like AB like that are able to see like, hey, this is a neurological output that's predominantly like when you start to think about that like the what was it again? The exit velocity.
Exit velocity. Yeah.
I mean, exit velocity, obviously there's going to be biological components to it, but that's going to be predominantly neurological.
Sure. So interesting point. Do you want to talk about a case? Do you want to talk about a case
Yeah.
with respect to this in a baseball